TV.
Good evening. I hope that you are well. We interrupt our normal programming to bring you a very important conversation that all of us should be part of. And this is as far as shifting mindsets. And we're talking about eradicating female genital mutilation and cut, as well as child marriages in Kenya, because female genital mutilation and cutting, child marriage, and teenage pregnancy are harmful practices that violate the rights of girls and women in Kenya and globally. And despite being illegal and punishable by law in Kenya, these practices persist, especially in certain communities. And according to the recently released Kenya Demographic and Health Survey, that is KDHS data, for 2022, the prevalence of FGM is 15% in the country, meaning that 15% of girls and women aged 15 to 49 years have been circumcised. And this is too high. So tonight we will be shedding light on the critical issues, and this is as far as female genital mutilation and cutting, and as well as child marriage is concerned. And to help us with that conversation, we have special people from World Vision. And on my immediate left, I am joined by Miriam Mbembe, who is the Operations Director, World Vision Kenya. Good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. We also have Gilbert Kamanga, who's the National Director, World Vision Kenya. Good to have you, sir. Thank you so much for sparing your time. And we also have Dominica Chelatan, anti-FGM and child marriage champion, all the way from West Pokot. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for this very important conversation. I'm really tempted to say hi in Pokot, but we'll deal with that as we continue with the conversation. I'm going to begin with you, sir. Not the first time that we're having a conversation as far as FGM is concerned, and child marriage and teenage pregnancy, because it's a whole circle. So what are the current trends that you have noticed as World Vision?
Yeah, so thank you so much for this opportunity. As the data showed, the trend that you see, things keep on increasing when there's a lot of hardship at the household level. Okay. So when we had a severe drought, we saw quite a number of impact at the household level, but also when you see the communities having some challenge, they need to find a safety net, and that ends up being the girl child, unfortunately. Okay. And then we see that it's also quite dominant in the arid and semi-arid parts of this country, but also we see that it's also quite higher prevalences in the areas where there's pastoralists. So to me, that's what I would say, that those are the trends we see. But the other good trend is that we see that there is a lot of people who are standing up against it, that their mindsets which are emerging, and the whole issue now is how do you sustain that positive mindset towards fighting both FGM, child marriage, and teenage pregnancies.
All right. And Miriam, how much of a concern is this? Because again, on one side, again, you know, like Mr. Gilbert says, and the number of people who are standing up to speak against this and to fight is increasing, which is a good thing. Yeah. But then again, on the other hand, we've seen another trend, and this is older women who might not necessarily come from the communities that still continue to practice, but would go to the hospital and demand for the same, which again makes the fight a little bit difficult, because people would ask, so is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing, right? So how much of a concern is this? Two different facets as far as FGM is concerned.
Thank you so much. I think just building up on what Gilbert has talked about, we're talking about FGM, and for many Kenyans, they may not know that FGM is actually rampant across 22 counties. Wow. So while other counties may be silent, you may find FGM is happening here in Nairobi and other places, but we have 22 as a burden for this nation. All right. And while at the government level, it's a priority, and we thank God that it was put as a priority, the challenge becomes more and more to us when it's because of the secrecy and the silence that goes with it. They do not put an advert there in the community that there's going to be an FGM tonight or something like that. You only get to hear it way, way later. So you have no evidence to take that legal measure or something like that. Yeah. So the fact that we're talking about a practice that is culturally entrenched. Yeah. and generation over generation have talked, have done, it is so hard to break. And so when you're talking about the mindset change, it really requires a serious, drastic mindset change for us to be able to do that.
That's true, yeah.
That's how serious it is, and yeah.
And I see that, and I'm happy that we have Dominica here. That's you know, this evening to really help us understand what the situation is qua ground, because you have gone through training and sensitization, and I'm pretty sure you're very instrumental, you know, to talk to the people, and tell them, listen, this is not right and this is not, you know, good. But before that, okay, to really a few years back, before, you know, World Vision, before, you know, you were taken through, you know, training and sensitization, what was it like for you as a person and also for the community around you?
Okay, years back, when I can remember, I was in grade 4, I was 11. Those rights were very rampant, and it was like the order of the day.
Yeah.
Our fathers, like my father, did not value education.
Okay.
On that time, he told me to get circumcised and get married to an old man. Because I was hearing about rescue center at Morpus, but I did not know Morpus.
Okay.
It forced me to walk along the road. I slept on the way the first day, then the second day I reached Morpus Primary School. There I met a head teacher who was so welcoming. He took me to where other rescue girls were. There were other rescue girls there, and also there were normal girls who were not rescued. So he provided me with the necessary materials I needed to study in school. I did well. I will continue with the other girls. We were not going home during the holidays because of the fear.
Yeah,
and forced.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Before you decided, because you see, this is, like Miriam said, this is a culture that is deeply, you know, rooted and embedded in communities. Of course, there's that part where you look at your peers, you know, you look at your friends. Maybe some of them went through it and they were married off, but here you were, you know, saying, listen, this is not for me. Were you at some point maybe stigmatized? Because I've heard a lot of stories where young girls will say, yeah, even my peers, why am I, you know, rejecting this? Why don't I want to go through this? And yet this is our culture and we want to protect it.
Okay. My friends that time get circumcised.
Okay.
And I saw them, and they got married. Right now they have many children. They look like old mamas, like they have grown. They are not of my age. If you can compare
yourself and
and them, we don't look like we are age mates. And life there, their life is not good. Their life is hard anyway, because they burn charcoals, they go to rivers to mine gold, to feed their families, and maybe their husbands are polygamous, others are drunkards. So their burden is on their shoulders. The burden of the family, the children. So we find out that their children, all of their children cannot go to school. Also, there is hunger in that area. So you find out that even their children goes to mine gold, goes to burn charcoal. Others in other areas cut aloe veras to sell. So the children also work together with their mother to meet the basic needs. So as compared to me, I'm much better than them. But I'm not I'm not happy that way, that I'm much better than them. But I feel that pain, that if they could attain education like me, this world could have
Being a
changed.
better place.
Yeah.
And I totally hear that, and also feel your pain, because you see, growing up, you'd want you and your friends and your peers and even your neighbors to be at a good place. And it's a dream of everybody, really, to see their families change, and then that does not happen. So many facets. Yes.
Okay. Something else is when these girls gets married at the tender age, they go with their poverty because. And living also their family with poverty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So poverty increases. It's like a sequence now.
Yeah. From one family to the other. And Mr. Gilbert, so many facets to this scene. So there's poverty, there's child marriage, there's labor. You know, for the children, they're not going to school; they're forced to go into. How much of, not a concern, but. And I don't want to say difficult a fight this is, but the reality is. It is difficult, right?
It is.
So what approaches maybe that have been used that has sort of helped, and what is it that then we need to change? Because approaching it from the point of FGM is not good, you know, seems to take a little bit of time for people to understand the detriment.
No, you're right. It is not something which is just as simple as it is said. I always refer to the COVID time era, that what made people from Nairobi not to travel was not COVID. That's my worldview. It was leadership. Someone decided that we will not travel during COVID, although people wanted to beat the system, wanted to run away from. So World Vision, therefore, believes that one of the key issues we need to look at is leadership at household level, leadership at community level, leadership at national level. So we see that this initiative has been there. The former presidents have been talking about that. Even the current president is talking about the same, that we need to stop child marriage, we need to stop. So all this is already there. But then it's leadership at household level. What Dominic are talking about, how does a family decides to invest in what? To invest in their children, and then they keep separating girl and boy, or even boys alone themselves. They decide to say, okay, this one will look for cows or animal, this one can go to school. So how do you make that decisions? That's where, for us as World Vision, we believe in this empowered worldview mindset program, which allows families and communities to think differently. You don't know what you don't know. So most of the people don't know what they don't know. Then they just push this agenda that the FGM is our culture. Child marriage, what I have seen from my forefathers and my aunties and everybody, therefore I should do the same. Not knowing that you can end differently. And as Dominic has pushed out there, you don't need to keep on transporting poverty from one generation to the other. There can be a break point where you can say, from here now on, I'll be fine. Therefore, for us as World Vision is ensure that just mindset change is not enough. We need to look at more holistic approach. Access to water, access to economic ventures. Yes, access to education is key. So you cannot just say stop, because people, somebody said, as human beings, we are made not to harm ourselves. We are made to protect ourselves. But sometimes what we use to protect ourselves are dangerous. Therefore, the issue is, can you break that which is not good to our own well-being?
I see that. And like you said, people would want to protect you know, what is theirs and what they value the most. And culture is one of the things. And like you mentioned, Miriam, in more than 22 counties, FGM is still practiced. So I'm trying to think, because again, Mr. Gilbert says we need to approach this holistically, right? And that starts with shifting mindset, but that is not enough. There's so much that needs to be done. So then how are you approaching this in a language that these different communities in 22 counties can understand? Because it's different. It's not just one community practicing the same. So they approach in terms of, yes, understanding this is dangerous, not only for the girl, but for the entire family, and then the entire community in general, and the country at large, but also in a language that they understand.
Thank you so much. I think one of the things we love to appreciate as an organization is getting to understand at what level that community is.
Okay.
Communities have their own tradition. And for our audience, and I know you asked me if I come from Pokot, there are traditions that are very nice. You can see I look very nice with my beard. But there are those that are really, really harmful. And female genital mutilation and cut is one dangerous one. I actually call it dangerous. Because when we say many people do not know, actually, even for the people that practice, many of them don't know how that FGM is done. They don't know the magnitude. They don't see the final product for that matter. So they've never sat down to imagine how life would be differently if they did that, if they didn't do that. So I think getting to understand that community means that you actually are going to do community conversations. We call it community change process. Community conversations, just triggering the mind for them to start thinking differently, to start looking at things differently. And you actually realize that when they start looking at it differently, you go to the community and they say, we also want to be like the other community. Because now they can talk about a different thing. All through, they have only seen and have only heard of FGM. You grow up as a young girl, at 10, you're circumcised, and you're sent to a husband. That is the culture they know. But if you get to do the conversation with the community, the people that matter, in most of this community, there are key people that matter. There are those old women that matter. The ones that would perpetuate this circumcision. There are those elders. And
they're held at a very high value because they're the ones who are upholding, quote unquote.
Like preparing you for your next stage of marriage. There are those elders that matter, that can actually stand up and say, we are progressing this side. So, and of course, they have their own religious leaders, whether they're those Christian, cultural, but they have some form of religion in that. So when you look at how do I bring the older mothers, the gatekeepers, the local leaders, the religious leaders, to get to understand that what we're talking about as female genital mutilation is not just harmful as harmful. It is physical, it is psychological, it is mental, it is actually torture. It's a lifetime scar that people don't get to talk about that. So when you do that conversation, and you talk about the empowered worldview, the mindset change that Gilbert is talking about, you get to give them an option of looking at another light. Maybe they've been seeing a yellow light, now they start seeing a green light coming through, and they get to see, wow, oh, so this is what we have been missing. And we've had communities saying, this is what we've been missing. And they start moving. And because you're also coming in a very holistic way, even the older women that have been doing circumcision starts feeling like, I can actually stop this and start doing something else. So we've seen women actually dropping their equipments and actually bringing, they carry the whole, the skin, everything, the consignment to the office and say, no, World Vision, please have this. I have stopped this. Because you've not forced it. While we know it is illegal. And we should be carrying them to the other side of the law, because that is what the law stipulates, the Anti-FGM Act of 2011. But you also get to understand, because you will never know the bigger number unless you do a conversation with them. All these other things in the community are done in secrecy. So you get to get there and you get to talk about economic empowerment. I think you can do this, you can do that. And when you go out there, you're actually engaging with women who now owns big things. You can sit in their hotels, their local hotels, and they serve you tea and say, this is what I used to do. Now I'm doing something more productive.
And it's beautiful to see that shift, right? And understanding that, yes, there's some aspects of our culture that we want to protect and uphold, but then there are others that are harming, you know, our children than doing good. But we've also seen, you know, alternative rites of passage, right? Where instead of, and even engaging the young boys and men as well, which is a beautiful thing to see. And Dominica, I understand we have like 2 minutes or so. Okay, we need to take a break, and I do not want to say, Dominica, in 30 seconds, tell us this and that. Let's take that break. But then when we come back, I'd want to hear from you. So what you saw, you didn't like it. And it pains you to really see what, you know, your friends and other members of your community are going through. So when they saw that, you know, you went to school, and you are where you are today, right? How much of an influence has that brought as far as, you know, to the community? But I do not want you to answer that now because nitakuharakisha. Let's take a break, and then when we come back, we'll start with you. And then we'll also talk about a very important project as well. And this is the Kenya Big Dream. Okay, so we'll talk about that after the break. Stay with us. See you shortly.
The Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, and the University Council of the University of Kabianga welcomes all graduates, parents, guardians, and general public to its 11th graduation ceremony to be held this Friday, 27th October 2023 at the main campus graduation pavilion from 9 a.m. Follow the proceedings live on NTV and all University of Kabianga social media platforms. University of Kabianga, innovation and excellence.
1 month after a successful pig heart transplant, breakup conversations zikaanza kunimekia sense. Mimi nilikaa nikaona hakuna mahali tunaenda na hiyo nguruwe.
Wakati shida inakugonga, unaumagwa hata na umbo ya mtu. Hata umbo haikujui kabisa, inakugonga hivi, unaona huyu hata ni mume. Kanjo, unapata hata scouts wanashikana wanakushika. Scout! Mudione kuna uniform, anakushika. Mudione, umeshikwa na mama, bora kuna uniform. Yaani, watu wametoka kuimba kegosho. Jehova mwadhani kumogea mbelelia, wanakuona ukipita Jehova.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're still with us. And this evening, we're focusing on a very important conversation, like I said when we started the show. And this is as far as shifting mindsets. And this is on eradicating female genital mutilation and cut, and as well as child marriage right here in Kenya. So much that we have covered during the first part of the conversation, especially as far as the whole cycle is concerned, because it's not just the cutting itself, okay? There is poverty, there is child marriage, there's so many things. You know, that encompasses that. But before we continue with the conversation, just take a look at this video. Like we said earlier on, involving the entire community, educating them, and of course, the influence that it has.
Utamaduni ambaye imeshika sana kwa area hii ya Silale ni mambo ya tohara. Imefanya watoto wasichana wasiende shule. Mtoto tu akisaliwa na ajulikana kwamba ni mtoto msichana, akifikisha ile umri wa mwaka 12 mpaka mwaka 14, sasa wanatahiri msichana ndio wapate mahali. Mvulana ni kwamba wakati akifikisha umri wa mwaka 8, mwaka 10, wanafunza mambo ya shabaha. Sasa huyu mtoto akiwa mkubwa, huyo ako ready, anaweza enda hata read. Akifikisha hiyo 15 years, mvulana lazima aende hii mambo ya stages ya process ya sapana ili akuweka dongo. Na hiyo sasa ndio imenyima mtoto mvulana aende shule. Alafu wamama wametumika sana kutengeneza mambo ya brew kwa sababu hawajui biashara nyingine. Itikadi nyingine ambayo imefanya watu wetu sana wamama kuumia, domestic violence. Hiyo sana iko. Hawaoni mama kama ni mtu ya maana.
The government, in collaboration with World Vision and other stakeholders, have launched a child protection in emergency response guideline. It's a framework that will help to address some of the issues affecting children in emergencies, whether they are emergencies, man-made or natural emergencies. So it became important for us to implement the sea change conversations where we have community change dialogues and empowered worldview model in the communities in Akwichatis.
Kwa njia nzuri, tunaelekea kuzuri.
World Vision walifika sehemu hii ya Silale. Walini identify kama one of the facilitators. Sisi tukapelekwa training. Tukafunzwa mobilization, capacity building. Nikakuja kueleza watu wetu kwa sababu nilipewa ile knowledge na nikaona wameelewa.
Watu wa Kenya Big Dream walikuja hapa sehemu za Akwichatis, tukafunzwa jinsi ya kubadilika, ya kwamba tuachane na mambo na ukeketaji na tuachane na mambo ya kuweka udongo kwa kichwa. Na hapo ndipo tukajifunza ya kwamba mtoto msichana akitahiriwa itakuwa ni shida wakati atakuwa mkubwa, aende aoleke wakati anajifungua. Hiyo ni operation kwanza. Ya pili anaweza bleed mpaka akufe. So mimi singeonelea kwamba mtoto wangu msichana aende kuoleka kwa sababu nimeona iko na madhara mingi sana.
Wakana na sea change tumepata hawa warriors, na hawa warriors siku hizi hawaendi, waliacha ile itikadi ama ile utamaduni ya kwenda, alafu wakaweka distance na wale wenzao. Kuna wengine wamefungua biashara, kuna wengine hata wamenunua motorbikes.
Hiyo maisha ya kuwa warrior kwa biashara mbaya, kwa sababu ukifika huko lazima kuna mtu atakufa hapo. Wakati niliingia siege nikafunzwa jinsi ya kukaa kwa maisha, yani ile unaweza pata mapato. Sasa for example unafikiria kitu ya kufanya, nikapata pesa ya kununua, nikanunua pikipiki. Wakati nilinunua hiyo pikipiki ilinisaidia kwa njia mingi sana.
Sasa nashukuru sana sea change kwa sababu linibadilisha tena mzuri sana. Kwa sababu ile biashara nilikuwa nafanya haikunisaidia, na ndo nikaona ya kwamba nitoke hoteli nilikuwa nafanya niende nitafute at least nifanye cosmetic and salon. Yenye saizi inanisukuma, imenipeleka mbali. Sasa hiyo nilisaidia na ikanilishia watoto wangu, ndio nikajua hata kwamba kununua at least nikapata chance hata ya kupata sabuni ya kuoshea watoto, nikapata chance ya kulipa mtihani ya shule, nikapata chance ya kulipa kutafuta kununua kitabu.
During the implementation of sea change, we faced some challenges within the community, language barrier, but we employed an alternative way of getting the local people, who we are calling the trainers of trainees. We trained them so that they can be with the community.
Sasa ilikuwa ni ngumu. Culture ya Mpokot ataki mama asimame mbele yao. Hiyo ndio the biggest challenge yenye yuko hapa. Lakini wakati tuliendelea tu pole process, tukaona wamepata kujua uzuri. Na siku hizi tunasalimiana na hawa. Alafu wameanza kukubali wa mama.
Sasa kuna mabadiliko kubwa sana kwa sea change. Maana sasa hata kuna msikizano kwa boma. Baba na mama wamesikizana mpaka hata watoto wanafurahia. Unaona hata watoto sasa wako na afya mzuri kwa sababu nini? Watu baba na mama wamesikizana.
Hata utapata mama akitoka hapa sea change tukimaliza masomo yetu saa 6 saa 7, mama anaenda kununua chakula na anakimbia nyumbani, anaenda kupikia watoto chakula. So watoto wamekuwa na afya mzuri.
The key lessons we have learned from implementing the Kenya Big Dream, one is that communities actually can be responsible for their transformation. That is one of the lessons. Through programs like the community change model, the other lesson we have learned is that when we give knowledge to communities about these issues of children, and they are able to embrace them and actually use that knowledge, then the community transformed.
Nitakapobarikiwa na hiyo kupata mtoto, nipendelea mtoto yangu asome tu. Yani siwezi kubalia mtoto yangu aingie katika hiyo harakati ya kuiba tena.
Tunapeana watoto wasichana shule, na mimi ni mmoja wao ambaye nimepeana watoto shule. Watoto wangu wako shule, waende wasome, waniletee baadaye faida.
We are looking at one day Kenya Big Dream may phase out, but the project or the knowledge, the capacity building we have done to this community, it will remain. So we are looking forward to partner with the community, to partner with the government, and also other stakeholders to ensure that we do sustainability for the project we are doing.
Ningependa kuambia World Vision kwamba Mungu awabariki kwa hiyo moyo wa kusaidia watu.
All right, beautiful experiences over there. And that guy who said, "Sai hata sitaki kusikia anything like that, niko na boda boda, and it is helping me," you know, as a form of business. And this is a beautiful thing. And Dominica, I was supposed to get your response as far as the change. Okay, ulienda shule, kapata masomo, and now you are able to sort of like talk to your people, talk to your peers as well. How much of a change would you say that has brought?
Okay, many of my friends whom I have impacted directly, they are more than 50.
Oh, nice.
Who I have impacted directly, and there are those who I impacted maybe indirectly, because others hears about me. Those who I have met, I told them that marriage is not the end of your life. Request your husbands to go to vocational training centers to get some skills like tailoring, maybe salonists, and many of them now are tailors. Others are in their salons. Others did cookery.
Oh, nice.
Now they are my friends.
Okay.
When I meet them, they respect me, they talk with me, and I advise them to take their children to school. And most of them have taken their children to school. Yeah.
Okay. And you know, from the video, one of the ladies, so she now does hair. You know, she was making the hair like her friends, and she was saying now, after, because they also go through like training, the C change?
Yeah,
yes,
community change.
Yes, the program. It says saa sita ikifika hivi nakimbia niende nipikie watoto. Because wametoka shule, and all those things that she was saying before, that was not the case. The children were not able to go to school, and this goes to say how much of importance education is to the not only the child but to the entire community. So Kenya Big Dream, can we just talk about it, and why this particular approach and the reason behind the program?
Thank you. So Kenya Big Dream started as a project. But for now, where we stand as World Vision is not just a project implemented in a particular location. It is more of a dream we have for Kenya. Okay, so our big dream for Kenya is that Kenya should have no FGM practiced anywhere. Kenya should not have child marriage, and that Kenya should not experience teenage pregnancies. So that's the dream. So what we're implementing in this location is just an example of what could be done anywhere, even where World Vision is not. So it is a program, as Miriam has mentioned, and what Dominica has been sharing here. It is a program where we want everywhere people to be aware that FGM is not good. Teenage pregnancy is not good. Child marriage is not good. But we cannot do that by standing on a platform. We need to sit down with the communities.
That's true.
So having community awareness and engaging with them becomes very key. The issue of mindset change is key. But it is that issue I talked about earlier on, issue of being holistic in our approach. That we know that entrenched in all this issue of poverty, where people see a girl as an avenue for a boy getting married, because I'll get some cows from the girl and then I'll pay the cows for the boy. It is where people see that boys or men demand that I cannot marry a girl who is not cut, and yet they don't know what they are missing. So it is a conversation which you need to have. So having constructive conversation at household level is one area which we do in Kenya Big Dream. But also it is the issue of having access to education. We can talk about stop, but if there's no schools in this location where we go, it will not be workable. That's why World Vision works with both the national and local and county government to ensure that we have education services even to the hard-to-reach areas. Right. Then the issue of access to water, so that women should not, or children should not make a choice of going to school than collecting water, so they should always be going into school. And then the third one, the issue of economic empowerment. They have been very instrumental. We have seen wonderful results where, because of these economic opportunities, people now don't see their children as avenues for getting income.
Yeah, I mean, one of the ladies, when I was watching the video, said, "Sasa saizi, I'm empowering my children. They're going to school so that in future." What a nice idea. And that's a good thing really to see. But also, one of the ladies as well, still from the video said, you know, initially women were not respected, okay? So it is the men who took charge of everything and had the primary decision maker in the home. And that's impacted, you know, a lot of lives, and that includes women and young girls, because it is this head of the home who decides who gets married. Dominica, you have no say, you know, to say no or yes. And they were saying, but you know, through the training and sensitization that we have, you know, gone through, we're slowly seeing a difference. And now we can sit together with our husbands in the same forum and have these conversations. So how would you quantify, you know, that difference, like you said, you know, and we have really emphasized on the importance of sitting with the community and talking to them.
Wow, thanks so much. Talking about Kenya Big Dream, one of the things that I want to say before I respond to your question is that I think currently World Vision, what we're doing is that we've really invested in 4 counties. Okay. Yeah, of the 22 that I mentioned, we have really a heavy investment in 4 counties. And when you talk about ensuring access to social services that would mitigate some of these things, then a lot of investment is happening out there. In fact, even including creating schools where there has been no school in wards. So just ensuring that there's that access. Okay. But getting back to your question is how does that balance come in? One of the things we didn't mention precisely is that actually FGM comes as a result of gender imbalance. True. Yeah, so poverty and all other issues aside, the gender imbalance is what perpetuates FGM. So these women has no decision to make other than listening and like yielding to the societal desires. Yeah, you must undergo this for you to do that, for you to do that. But to the balance that comes when you talk about empowering the women, of course, we're also empowering the men because we don't want an imbalanced society, is that when women have something to do that is productive, when they are participating in the decision making, the cows are for men and all the livestock are for men. That's why they can distribute and say, I'll be able to give this for the dowry and all that. But when women have their little income from wherever they come from, the chickens, the saloons, everything they're doing, they can actually sit at the table, at the table. Okay. Yeah, it's no longer in the kitchen or something like that. So that's how they get the respect. They get to make a decision around what happens within their families, their children, and they can agree with their spouses, we're gonna send our children to school. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. So when you bring in the other aspects of development that we come with when you're talking about FGM, like the water availability, the education access, the economic empowerment, money in the pocket. You can imagine a lady with money, she will bring food home. And I think I would be unfair to the girls and the women if I don't say that even on the 11th October, I know many of us did not know that there was an International Day of the girl, of the girl child. And so when you're talking about investing into the child, because when you invest in the child and the women, Kenyans, and I'm talking to Kenyans here, is that we will have a fairer future, to be honest.
That's true.
Yeah, so I think that is the balance that you're talking about.
That we're talking about. And it's absolutely important, really, to have that, so that we do not have conversations where the girl has been overly empowered and then the boy child has been left behind. Let's strike that balance. Okay, listen, we literally have like 3 minutes to end the conversation, and there's so much that we need to cover. Mr. Gilbert, I'm going to ask you, so as far as the Kenya Big Dream is concerned, do you have like targets, you know, to see that by this this particular time, because for FGM, former President Uhuru Kenyatta said by 2022 we should have, but really that has not happened yet. So do we have targets for the same? Very quickly before I speak to
the danger of putting a target of a year is that people look back, so we have done nothing.
Yeah.
But our target is within our life, our generation.
Okay.
Okay, our current generation. It is household by household.
Okay.
So we may say by 2030, I think World Vision would not go that line, but we say that within our generation, we should have an army which says enough is enough.
Okay.
Like we have our champions here to say that enough is enough. We can't keep on like this one. And actually, I am very happy when I meet boys or young men saying, as for me, I have decided that I will not demand to marry a child. I mean, to marry a child or a woman who is cut. And to me, that's, wow, this is what we should be looking at. So yes, we can say within maybe 20 years we should eradicate, but at World Vision we have not set a date. We just say that within our generation we should stop this old entrenched vice of FGM and child marriage. As I said, it is not just a project out there, but a dream where we call all Kenyans, all of us, to rally behind and say, enough is enough. The time is now. It takes leadership. And leadership, in this case, I don't mean the president. Of course, he has all the power. But I'm talking about all of us individually making that choices that enough is enough. Let's have, as Miriam said, a fairer future where each one of us have equal rights.
I really, really like that. Enough is enough. Okay, Dominica, very quickly. So how did your life change in like 30 seconds, you know, so that this young girl who's looking at you and say, me, I want to be like Dominica, okay? I did not want to go this other route. Very quickly, how did your life change after, you know, you went to school, you have been empowered and you're able to go back to, you know, the society and talk about it?
Okay, I can say my life has changed because attaining the level of education that I have is not a joke to a girl like me from the village. I can say that I can provide for my family.
Okay.
I can do a business, or I can teach because teaching is my career.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I can say that my life has changed.
Okay.
As compared to the life of my friends.
Okay.
Education is something very sweet to a girl child.
All right.
Because if you educate a girl, it is like you educate the whole family.
That's true.
So I encourage my dear girls, my fellow girls in the village or in any other area where these practices are rooted, to stop FGM and early marriage.
Okay.
Because it kills their future.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And please allow me to take that as your
okay.
parting shot on
Thank you.
because that's very, very powerful. Really, Dominica, thank you so much. Dominica Chelatan, anti-FGM and child marriage champion from West Pokot. I want to say, Karam Nyoman is I'm okay. Yeah, I was about to say thank you, but okay, Sawa, thank you so much. Yes, that part, okay? And then Mr. Gilbert Kamanga, National Director, World Vision Kenya. Clearly, it's been a while since I was in West Pokot, okay? And Miriam Debe, Operations Director, World Vision Kenya. Thank you so much for your time, really, this evening. And I hope that you have learned so much from tonight's conversation. The ball is in our court. See you soon. Goodbye.